everybody of my Hi everybody of my fans of YouTube. My name is David Angel Clooney of a short my name actually David A. Clooney or David Clooney for short. So this is my channel called Mr. Mr. MLP me Mr. MLP OC Dave. That's my channel by the way. And here's a mission. So I'm gonna thank you guys for discovering of 263 discovered my channel. Yeah, thanks. And thanks for that. So yeah, I like this one. So so um so yeah. And thank you guys for about most votes. It's gonna be Dogman, Veiled, Essentially, Scary, Horror, AU, Reflection, Story, Explained series about Dogman, Veiled, Essentially. Story about it. Okay, alright, let's cut to off. Thank you so much guys for about over 3 most votes of a scary alien reflection of Total Trauma Island and Trolls, a creepy horror alien virus. That means like I'm so happy for you guys for these votes of Trolls, a giving horrors and Total Trauma Island, island of the slaughtered. And that's amazing. So yeah, kind of scary of it. Other scary alien depression of the kids cartoon shows, live action, and movies. Kind of scary with your blessing, dude. Oh my goodness. You cannot, for the scary blessing about cartoons. We're not necessarily with cartoons, shows, and you cannot with the cartoon shows, live action shows, and movie shows. How could you? You're supposed to with a normal size of Dogman, Total Drama Island, Trolls, SpongeBob SquarePants, Papa Break, the Middle of a Gumball, and even and even Super Super Mario, Super Smash Bros. For this, you cannot live with the EU at present. Absolutely not. You're supposed with able to live for the entire franchise for this. Not a scary EU at present. How could you? Notes about that. Let's get back to the video about But how scary is Dogman failed assembly? Horror AU Affliction Story Explain Series. Alright, let's get into it. So let's get to likes, fears, and likes. And now. Yeah, like I started. So how many how many likes my son gets? Let's go ahead 2,000 likes to my channel. Yeah, thanks for that. It's amazing. And how many views I got? So I got 24,000 views of YouTube. Yeah, thanks for that. And how many likes my son gets? So let's go ahead 200. Let's go ahead 224,000 likes on my channel. Yes, exactly. Alright, so let me say, let's go to back the video about Dogman Veiled Eternity. Our a year of action story explain series. So yeah, so like I started, a YouTuber called Gamer Salt. And he has 1,000 views. He has he has what's it by the way? 91.9 thousand discoveries. Wow, good for you, Gamer Salt. Let's get to our explain series about Dogman failed assembly. So yeah, look at sorry. So 3, 2, 1, and go.
Failed Surgery of the Dogman is an AU or alternate universe horror interpretation of the cartoon known as Super Cup. In the AU, we are introduced to the horrific result of a failed surgery where two living beings were merged together to become one entity.
Great.
These two beings are a dog and a human. The man was called Official Knight, a police officer who seems to have been in the K9 unit working alongside his trusty partner, Greg the dog. They were a good team who cut the bad guys and saved the day. That is until, through a tragic accident, both fell into a critical condition, needing surgery to live. But that surgery required the head of the dog and the body of the man, which meant the surgeon decided to combine them together, making one entity. This is in line with the cartoon where the duo are called into a place where they have to defuse a bomb which was implanted by the villain of the story, a cat called Petey. Failing to defuse the bomb leads to the duo sustaining major injuries, causing the officer to have major injuries to his head, making it impossible to treat, and for Greg the dog, he loses functions to his body, leaving his head intact and healthy. The doctors, in order to save them both, have a really bad idea to experiment on them and create a super cup, surgically removing both the heads and placing the head of the dog on the officer's body. In the show, the surgery is a success, making the combination of the two a super cup. Good at pretty much everything, but in the AU, the results are much different. As the nurse approaches his room to check on him, the dog man wakes up after the surgery, opening his eyes for the very first time. He seems dazed and out of place, seemingly disoriented and confused. As the nurse enters the room, she is worried, not able to see the patient, asking herself where the body is. The concern is very clearly visible on her face, seemingly more like fear than simple concern about their health. Just then, out of the shadows, Dogman appears and lunges at a fleeing and scared nurse. The scene changes to the doctor who performed the surgery, walking alongside the police chief. The doctor is desperately trying to convince the chief that the surgery was a success, something including the aftercare took 2 weeks of hard work. The chief is less than convinced, wanting to see the results by himself. Chief explains that he is concerned about Greg and Knight and simply wants to see them being alright. Just as they reach the room, they are horrified to hear screams of the nurse who has been pinned to the ground with the new abomination the Dogman has become being atop of her. Dogman has blood on his mouth and hands, with the nurse having a bloodied face. It's clear Dogman attacked her and bit her. Just before Dogman notices the doctor and the chief, he seems to be stroking the nurse's face, as if being confused and feeling out of place, trying to get used to his body. That's when he is spooked, letting out a loud roar before running away through the window. The chief is horrified and screams that Dogman will be back. At the same time, a news outlet arrives reporting live on Greg and Knight, two heroic officers who sustained severe injuries after a failed bomb defusing mission. Just then, we see Dogman in the background, running away on all fours. Despite having a human body, this monstrosity has a dog's brain, acting like a dog who is disoriented and scared, acting on instincts. This live news goes viral, with many people becoming horrified. One of those includes Petey, the cat who planted the bomb. Petey is scared reading the news, seeing how Knight and the dog have become a monster. It's not clear if Petey is feeling sympathy or fear, as he was the reason Greg and Knight become as such. In the meantime, a confused combination of Greg and Knight try to escape all the noise and confusion through going home to be in their safe space. We see a depiction of what they might be feeling like being watched and being under scrutiny. Dogman simply wants to feel safe and away from all glancing eyes. That's when he arrives home, a place where Alice lives. Alice was official Knight's girlfriend, whom they lived together with, as we can see from a photo in the background on the wall. A photo which shows official Knight alongside Alice and Greg. We see boxes upon boxes in the house, which might suggest Alice is moving to a different place after believing official Knight has passed away. That's when Dogman arrives at home, with tears running down his face, looking for some validation from Alice, someone whom Greg trusted and lived with, feeling as if she is family and part of home. Unfortunately, all Alice sees is a monster covered in blood, being half human, half dog. She runs into the house and shutting the door behind her. This really sad encounter makes Dogman even more confused, having thought he would be welcomed and embraced by Alice when he gets home. But instead, he is turned away and treated like a monster, someone Alice tries to avoid. Alice goes on to hide in the closet, with a really confused Dogman sniffing around, finding the place Alice is hiding. Dogman looks terrifying, with blood and a deranged look on his face, trying to reach towards Alice, when in fear, she stabs his hand with a knife. Dogman is really baffled at this point, not knowing what is happening to him and why Alice would do such a thing. His reality then shifts and distorts. Keep in mind, he just woke up after 2 weeks of an experimental surgery, meaning that his capacity or vision might be restricted and impacted. Seeing how this woman stabbed him, something Alice would never do, he starts seeing a shadow, thinking it is a demon who smells like Alice, as Dogman relied on his sense of smell to locate Alice. Maybe a doppelganger or somebody who has taken Alice hostage. It becomes clear the surgery has made it difficult for him to see. That's when the sense of protection kicks in his mind, thinking that this demon has done something bad to Alice. So Dogman attacks Alice, believing that they have done something bad to her. Unfortunately, Dogman attacks her and brutally mauls her. She falls to the ground, being helpless, screaming, while Dogman screams louder, demanding to see the real Alice. Soon after, the police tracks Dogman to this location, finding him over the...
Wait. What is that saying? Sorry? Sometime later, the police arrived in the house, and were able to capture Dogman. Oh, so that means like the police were able to. That means like police were able to caught Dogman to be captured and arrived in his house. That's really good, to be honest.
Dogman to this location, finding him over the body of a badly injured and mauled Alice. Dogman seems really confused, crying like a child, lost and baffled. The chief is there, being unhappy that Dogman terrorized the city, but happy that the police has captured him now. They take him in, with no other news being heard from him,
I
as if
was
he
mad,
disappeared.
actually.
Sometime later in the police station, an angered mayor barges in, demanding to know what happened to Dogman and where he is. The mayor comes to the interrogation room, where the police are interrogating the surgeon who performed the operation on official night and Greg the dog. The surgeon starts talking, going back to the start, when it all began. He explains that the dog and his handler, official Knight, were in critical condition when they arrived at the hospital. Knight was slowly losing his life due to his brain dying, and Greg was going to stop breathing as his lungs were damaged and his body was mangled. However, Greg had a healthy head, while Knight had a healthy, functional body. They didn't know what to do until Nurse Lady made a suggestion. A grim one, to join the head of Greg to Knight's body and in theory save them both. Chief gets angered hearing this, thinking it was very irresponsible of the surgeon as it caused death and panic in the city. The chief promises he will not allow Dogman hurting anyone else. The scene changes to Petey the cat, the person responsible for Knight and Greg sustaining such injuries. Petey seems to have become paranoid, being terrified of the creature Dogman has become. He cannot sleep, thinking Dogman will come after him to kill him for what he had done. The fear eats at Petey, who finally comes to a conclusion that Dogman won't stop hunting him down. That's when he comes up with a brilliant idea: to clone himself in order for Dogman to kill the clone to get his revenge while he stays safe and sound. This displays the mind of criminals and villains, only being self-centered with no sense of remorse and responsibility. Petey then hops on the net and goes to a shady website, ordering a cloning machine with bad reviews. After the machine arrives, he removes a whisker and places it in the machine, expecting a clone to be created. Instead, the results are not what he wanted. The machine produces a child version of him, a child in confusion referring to Petey as Papa, thinking Petey is his father. This leaves Petey in a difficult situation, with his fatherly instincts kicking in, yet fear of being hunted and killed preventing him to sleep. The story is put on a halt here, with the outcome of all the different characters. The surgeon is put behind bars after questioning him for being so irresponsible and performing such a terrible experimental job, leading to death, suffering, and panic. Nurse Lady, someone who suggested the surgery, recovers from her injury, but loses her face as a result, failing to even feel it. Maybe you could say the surgeon and the nurse deserved their fate, as they were the reason behind the aftermath of the surgery. In the meantime, the mayor demands complete discretion and secrecy to the news, so that they won't go out to the public. And the chief demands the doctors to put Dogman to sleep, effectively killing him. The scientists, only wanting to make breakthroughs and putting sense of humanity below discoveries and science, ignore the demands of the chief and instead keep Dogman alive to perform more horrible experiments on him. As far as the public and chief thinks, Dogman is dead, so there is no one to stop the scientists performing any sort of deranged experiment on him. They believe something impossible has been achieved, merging a human with an animal who has stable vitals. They perform all sort of inhumane experiments on him, testing his tolerances and abilities. They put Dogman behind a glass in a box, shocking him, hurting him, and torturing him, all in the name of science. The scientists try to make him an obedient dog and maybe try to push him to speak, but instead they break him, a dog that becomes terrified of everything, living just to suffer every day. The scientists notice something, however. In the corner of the cold room that he is in, under constant observation, he places his hands on his head and keeps pitting himself. These are the same hands that belonged to his handler, Official Knight, someone who petted him before. In his mind, he is still Greg, someone who finds relief and comfort in thinking that he is still protected and loved by Knight. He is in a safe place in his mind. He calms himself like that, feeling the hands of someone he trusted and loved. In the sad turn of events, with Greg, who was a heroic dog, he now lives in a nightmare, always suffering, fearing everything, betrayed by humanity whom he tried to protect, killing someone he loved dearly, Alice, all because of the selfishness of humans. He is now trapped in a glass box under constant scrutiny, being subjected to torture and pain, with his mind only giving him short moments of respite, thinking Night is still
the
with him.
people.
This is the end of the story, unfortunately.
This is not
No
telling
happy ending
witness
here,
about
just
Dogman,
sadness and suffering. And I'm sad to tell you that the comic writers of this AU want to take an alternate route and make Petey abandon the cloned child as well. So I'll leave it here. Until next time, have a good day.
This is so sad about Dogman though. Alright guys, that's it for Action 2. Dogman failed in surgery. So that's sad, by the way. So yeah, that's it guys in this video. Dogman failed in surgery. So what is the next scary area of the person? That means like at least people were able to vote is trolls equipping horrors and total trauma island of the spider it. Yes, exactly. Island of the Charlotte and a gaping horror by trolls and and total trauma island. So yeah, I'll keep going of scary areas of lesson. Then Monopoly with about 6 chances 2 episodes. As I said. And keep going of I'll keep going of my blessing. So no. It's not actually a blessing, okay, my blessing cutout. So no. Yes, exactly. So go to my playlist about my blessing cutouts. Where's episode of my blessing cutouts? It's simple. Meet six, seven kid. So thanks you guys in this video, and see you in this video. So let's do it. Smack the like button, subscribe, and for kids and about this video. So yes, that's all it. So yeah, see you in the next video. So let's do 2025 video. Exactly. So plus the scary areas of lesson and another point with a message changes to episode. Okay, so that's it. So yeah, see you guys in this video. Back with my love you.